I don't know. Cool.
Yeah.
You feel nervous, Nivan?
No.
Good.
It's just a normal conversation. The only thing I'd be nervous about is like either I'm like laugh right into the microphone and like kill everyone's ears.
No, don't worry.
Well, I guess you're editing it.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But then the only other thing I'd be worried about is like just being really boring.
Oh no.
Like NPR radio.
You
Just
are
like
not-
putting your listeners to sleep. Like,
No, you are not boring at all. This guy can go on, and it'll be the most interesting thing to listen to.
are we recording right now?
We are recording, but it's not like.
Should we put the Reese's in the middle?
Oh yeah, if you want chocolate.
Dude, that's dangerous.
Okay, we'll put this back.
Yeah, you.
That will be empty by then.
But yeah, no, it's just a fun conversation. Let's
Yeah.
see how it goes, right?
Do you guys do vocal warm-ups?
Well,
Get olive oil in our throats.
no, I don't.
I've done tongue. I used to like actually before every interview and before every like, if I'm going to speak in front of the class, I'll do tongue twisters.
It's actually smart.
Yeah.
Did you
like
do
toy
it?
boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat? Like you basically can't go 5 without fucking up.
Toy
boat. Yeah. You
Toy
ever do
boat?
Toy boat. Yeah.
Okay.
Just say it. Just say it as much.
Toy
as you can.
boat.
Yeah, just keep saying it.
Toy
Toy boat.
boat,
Toy
toy
boy.
boat,
Toy boat.
Yeah, you
toy
already.
boat.
That's the second one you already messed up.
Toy
It's
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boy, toy,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
You can't do it. You can't do it more than 5. You need unique New York. That's another one.
You need.
You need unique New York.
Yeah, you need unique.
You
New
need
York.
You need unique New York.
you need unique New York.
Toy boat. Toy boy.
I already started to begin with. This is doomed from the beginning.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Is it possible
Toy
to
boat.
say it in 5 times?
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boy, toy boy. Yeah.
Like, is it possible, or is just like
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Toy
somebody
boat.
who has like a really good
toy boat,
tongue.
toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy
Toy
boat?
boat, toy boat, toy boat. Blah, blah, fuck's sake.
Did you do that for this podcast?
No, I forgot.
The whole walk here.
didn't
Toy
talk
boat, toy boat,
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat.
I'll do that. I'll do like people think I'm crazy, but like if I feel like I'm about to sneeze and I don't want to sneeze, I'll say cucumber as many times as I can. But the idea is like you don't breathe. If you don't breathe, so you say cucumber while expelling air. I find that it like 99% of the time I'll lose the sneeze. Yeah, but then I look like an idiot. Cucumber.
Yeah, I heard people say elephant. Elephant.
Elephant? Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that one. I know that people say rhubarb. Like, okay, so like if you're supposed to be having like conversation, everything I'm talking about right now is like just stuff I learned in theater. Like all the tongue twisters you do in theater, you do breathing exercises where you just take like deep breaths and then like yawn and like or you like take a deep breath and then let air out like a balloon, like, and it just like stretches your diaphragm essentially, and it just gets you ready for like projecting when you're on stage. And then tongue twisters is so you don't fuck up a line, like you
Right.
don't flub a line.
Oh, so you're in theater. You're a theater
I'm
kid.
a theater kid, yeah.
Oh,
Wait, how did this come up?
we're just talking about like articulating toy boat, toy boat. You said you guys do vocal warm ups. Yes, that's that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in theater in high school? No.
And well, yeah, I was starting earlier than that. I think I was 8 years old. My parents realized like I was super outgoing, but at the same time, like I wasn't involved in like sports extracurriculars. Like I couldn't skate. I tried skating. I was awful.
I can't skate either.
I can't skate either.
Too left
You have to
feet.
hold a bar.
To this day.
Yeah.
I don't hold the bar. I just let momentum carry me. So I'll just like get onto the ice for the momentum, and then
Yeah.
I'll just stand still until I make it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're better than me then.
Do like little waves with my feet.
Oh, wait. Then how long did you do theater for? Did you stop?
Not really. Like, well,
Oh, you still do
haven't done-
theater? Do you still do it?
Well, with COVID, it's like harder. So I don't think I've done anything since COVID. But like until first year of university, I was still doing it. I did at UBC. There's residence musicals. So the first year reses. Now there's 3 of them now, but like it used to just be like Totem and Vanier, and now also Orchard Commons. They would they'd host a musical just with the people from that dorm, which involved the residence association as well as the students. So the residence association was like the producers, I guess you could say, and then they would just like interview applicants from within the residency. So I was Orchard Commons. It was only like the second year Orchard was around, and it was the first time Orchard was ever involved in the musical. And like I don't know if you guys know anything about Orchard Commons at UBC, but like it's the smallest residency in first year.
Right.
So we had like slim pickings essentially. Yet somehow we like kicked Vanier and Toto's ass. Like we were actually so good.
Oh, wow.
Because we just happened to have like the best mix of people that we could. And so we did Rent, the musical, in first year.
Whoa, that's kind of crazy. I was like just talking about it
About Rent?
with Alicia actually.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's weird because you know the musical Tick Tick Boom. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, about John Larson. This is of John Larson, and then we were talking about. That's weird. Not just weird. I just thought that was weird.
Yeah, that's a tragic story too. But just, like he basically died right before Rent went to Broadway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So it's like unfinished. Like the play's not done.
Right.
Which is evident if you've ever watched Rent.
I have not watched
that plot
Rent.
makes no sense.
But like, was it good? If it was,
The music's awesome. The music is amazing. Everyone knows like Seasons of Love and
right.
Bohemian. Oh shit, what's it called? I don't even remember the words anymore.
Bohemian.
But there's a couple good songs on it, and they were like stuck in my head after first year. But the more important part of like that whole experience was like the people I met. And so one of them actually I just had dinner with her last night. Like I met one of my best friends from university in the production, and just all the other people would crop up in like courses, and then suddenly you have somebody you can study with, or you just run into them on campus and you have a long conversation, just catching up on like what life's been like. But that was really all I did for theater at university, other than the fact that the friend I mentioned, she's a playwright, and so she wrote a play. I took it to my hometown, which we have like a local theater festival. I directed for the first time, which was like super scary, and I would argue unsuccessful because I'm more of like I'm a good director, but I also had to act at the same time, which is like it's just too much.
All right.
It's just too stressful. So you don't even like get the reward of the process because you're just like overworked. But yeah, so she was nice enough to write a play. I directed it and then like did it for the community, and we were able to like make a good chunk of money, which I just gave back to Edith because she'd written the script. And she was able to, because of that money, come and visit my hometown, which I should like probably preface, like I'm not from down south in BC. I'm from northern BC, like really small community, called Prince Rupert. Prince Rupert,
Prince Rupert.
It's Prince Rupert, but everyone calls it Rupert.
Wait, I did not hear a difference. How do you say?
Okay, sorry, Prince Rupert. Prince, like
Rupert,
like the royal title prince.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yeah.
He was going a bit of Canadian history here. Are you guys familiar with the origins of the Hudson's Bay Company?
A little bit. We did that in grade 10, I think.
We did like social studies,
that
the
once.
fur trade.
Yeah, exactly. So he was he was the first governor of the Hudson's Bay Company, and so like back when they started in the Hudson's Bay area or whatever, he was like a Prince of Bohemia, which is why he was a prince. But he was like cousins with somebody in England, and they're like, "Hey, you do nothing. Do you want to be a governor of a company?" And he's like, "Sure." And they're like, "Yeah, it's in this place called Canada." And Prince Rupert's like, "I don't want to go there." And they're like, "You don't have to." So he never actually visited Canada.
What?
But he was like the governor of this company. And then like our city was founded, and they're like, "We don't have a name for it." And so they did, for some reason, a national survey in like a newspaper or something of like, what should they name the city? And somebody in Ontario or no, Saskatchewan was like, "You should name it Prince Rupert." And we're like, "He has nothing to do with Western Canada or has never been to Canada."
Never been to Canada.
And they're like, "It's perfect. Let's name our city that."
Prince Rupert.
Yeah.
Is it Rupert or Rupert?
Rupert. Like the street.
Rupert.
Yeah.
Rupert, like from Family Guy.
I don't know.
You watch Family
I don't watch a ton of Family Guy.
Okay.
We can get into that. I'm not a huge Seth MacFarlane fan in general.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's just strange. Like his humor, his non sequitur humor is, I think, like predictive of internet humor, like very similar in that respect. But when it becomes like overwhelming when there's just like no story to an episode, and instead it's just like, remember that time when I was a grade school teacher, and then it just cuts away to like a 30-second clip.
Yeah.
And then Brian's like, remember that time that I was at the pharmacy? And it's just like, oh my God, that's every episode. And especially when South Park made, I don't know if you guys have seen the South Park episode when they like tackled the Family Guy writers. And then they were,
don't remember.
it was just, it's like a long story short. It's basically Cartman goes to find out who writes Family Guy, and it's just manatees. And they get a ball with like a person's name, and then they get a ball with a place and a ball with an action, and then plop it into a machine, and then they just write that down and animate it.
Oh.
Which I think is like, it kind of like ruined the show for me. I'm like, oh wait, that is like all,
right.
That's like this entire everything. About
Exactly.
The show.
No, I don't. No, I've stopped watching. I've watched. Did you watch a lot of Family Guy?
Not really. I didn't really watch that much TV growing up. I was just kind of outside.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's good.
I mean,
that's good.
Until we have a conversation, I'm just kind of lost. Like I don't know. I kind of know what's going on, but I don't really know that much.
No, I watched it growing up just because my brothers watched it and they're older, so I watched a lot of that for some reason. And I thought it was funny, but I stopped watching.
Yeah.
But
I think it's when you're a kid, you think like, oh my God, this is like, it's an adult show. Like I'm gonna watch this.
I guess
because I'm not allowed to.
I guess like it was like the older network. Like was it like when you're older? It's like they play like Family Guy, Simpsons, or like Futurama.
Yeah.
Or like
it was Fox,
Robot
but it
Fox.
was like the
Was it
adult
Fox?
version of Fox. Yeah.
I forgot what's it called.
Adult Swim has a lot of adult shows too. Like I think Robot Chicken is on Adult Swim.
Right.
And Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys watch The Office?
No, not
Okay,
at all.
because I was wondering what you thought about it because I have no idea. Like, I don't get it really.
Yeah, I never got into it. Sitcoms in general are strange.
Yeah.
I think for our generation especially, when like people were used to like the typical like Friends, Seinfeld,
Yeah.
you know, All in the Family, whatever you want to go, Cosby Show, like there's like the, you know, one camera setup, the set,
Yeah.
right? And the audience, like the laughter and everything like that. And I think the reason why a lot of people like The Office is like an aversion on that premise, because it's like, then it becomes like the documentary style sitcom. And I think it was just like new for people. And I honestly think that most of the rewatchability is people's nostalgia
Yeah.
for the show.
I can agree with that.
Because I watched some of it. I'm just like, why do people like it? Like, people die over that. Like, they
Oh,
die
wow.
hard. Like, I love The Office, Friends, Seinfeld. Like, they'll die over that, and they'll like, that's the greatest show of all time. I'm like watching it. I'm like, it's okay. It's all right. I don't really get it, but you do you.
Really? I don't know. I think The Office is pretty funny.
Keith loves The Office.
Keith loves The Office. That's funny. It's like, I don't know. I like the humor.
I think that with those sitcoms, like it's you fall in love with the characters, and then it's almost the same way, like you find your friends funny and other people don't find your friends funny.
True.
I think it's the same idea. Like you like the characters so much that you're laughing at things that they're saying, even if they're not that funny, but you feel like they're your friends.
I guess. Yeah.
Whereas I would argue that Seinfeld doesn't rely on that premise. Like you need to understand the characters to get why they're doing the things they're doing, but their actions are relatable. Like they're always in relatable circumstances, which I guess is what a situation comedy is supposed to be. But I would argue that Seinfeld's relatable in like the everyday sense.
Whereas The Office is not.
Well, no, because it's I'd say it's more relatable in like if you worked an office job,
Right.
you'd
Yeah.
probably understand the dynamics of like
Sure.
coworkers.
Sure.
Whereas Seinfeld talks about simple things like trying to pick a movie to watch, trying to pick a restaurant to eat at, being in line when somebody's taking too long, like all those little things. Where the more you live, the older you get, the funnier the show becomes because it's more and more relatable. It was all written by old people who had like been through life. And I think the concept of the show even started when like Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld, who started the show, were like in a grocery store and they're trying to like pick between like two types of tofu.
Right.
And they're like, how come nobody ever wrote a show about this? Like about absolutely nothing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah. I
like
think I
just the mundane aspects of your everyday life.
Right. So you prefer Seinfeld over The Office?
Yeah.
I haven't watched Seinfeld, so I don't know.
Andrew texted me earlier this week saying, "Hey, when we get on the show and we do this, like, what we're gonna eat after." Still no idea yet.
Oh, yeah.
No idea.
Haven't
No
even
idea.
figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we didn't do an intro, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Welcome.
I prefer that.
Episode
But
21.
This is episode 21.
congratulations.
Yeah, episode
Yeah.
21. Thank you. This is I said last week, I can't believe we did 20 of these. Now it's 21 of these.
Yeah. That's 9 plus 10. 21. We're here.
21. Yeah, I don't know. Well, today we got Nivan on the podcast, if you don't already know his name.
By the title of this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to Nivan on the podcast. We're actually very happy that you're here. I'm very happy you're here. I don't know about Jayden. No, I'm kidding.
I am.
Hi, it's nice to meet you, Jade.
Yeah, thanks for your call.
But
I was going to say
yeah.
your name earlier, but I was like, is it Nivan or Nivan? I didn't want to mess it up.
It's Niv. It's
Right.
not spelled in a
It's in my head now.
conducive sense.
Nivan. All right, we're good.
No, it's all good. I think most people call me Niv just to avoid the entire second syllable of my
Fair
name.
enough.
Niv.
Yeah.
Do you like being called Niv or you just don't care?
I'm used to it. I think I'm like desensitized to it.
Right. Right.
What's weird about the Indian names is like, so when it came time to like name my sister, my parents were like, okay, let's pick a nice name, right? And so her name is Karishma, and it means miracle. I was like,
Okay.
oh, that's wonderful, right? And then they're like, a bunch of family members are like, yeah, that's actually like not how you're supposed to name people. And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, you can't just pick names. You have to go by the astrological signs when they were born.
That's how the naming is done.
That's how the naming's supposed to be done.
Oh.
I don't know if it's all of India. India is like a collection of states, really, more than like a unified entity. So like from wherever my parents are from, and maybe our religion, is like that's how you're supposed to name people for good karma, like essentially. Right?
Based off the astrology.
Yeah, astrology. Yeah, which
So
I
basically-
don't put much stake in.
Basically, like what time you were born.
Yeah. What were the star alignments what time and what day you were born?
Right.
And so for me, it was like, I was narrowed down to N. Was it? I don't know if it was N-I. Yeah, it was. It was just N-I. So my
Okay.
parents had that to go off of. And so they picked out for a female, if I was a woman, I would be a Nirvana. And then when you look at the males list of names that start with N-I, it's like nothing.
Nothing.
It's just nothing to pick from.
Right. Right.
And so it became like, they're like Nivan. I'm like, okay, that's nice. It's kind of like Nevin, like most some
Nivan.
Westerners
Oh, yeah,
will be able to
Nivan or
get the
something.
idea.
Nivan, yeah.
David Niven was like a famous British actor, so it's like, okay, that's pretty close, right?
Right.
But then when you go to the meeting, like people are like, oh, what does your name mean? It's like, the eighth horse of the moon.
That's what your name.
That's what my name means. Apparently, Niven was the name of the eighth horse of the moon. There are no horses on the moon. First
Wait,
of all, let's just
I'm
clarify
trying
that.
to understand that eighth horse of the moon.
Yeah.
Eighth horse.
What does that mean?
Yeah. And my sister's name, keep in mind, is Miracle.
Which is not even like following the astrological.
Yeah,
signs.
right. Because it's a nice name and it means a nice thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I got the short end of
horse
the
on the moon.
it's the eighth
Yeah,
horse
the eighth.
on
Yeah. Not to be confused with the seventh and ninth.
the other
Or
seven
the first.
or the first. Oh, that's so interesting. Wow. Our family do that? Does our family do
I
that?
think we just go off of the zodiac sign, the year, don't
Oh,
we?
we do?
Because my name is Dragon, like Loki. Like it's something dragon.
Jayden is dragon?
So we're born because we're born in the year dragon.
But your name.
Oh, actual name? No, they just thought it was cool. My English name, they just thought it was cool. That's all it was.
No, my name's like, because my mom is like, we're Christian, so then we based it off like the Bible
The
names.
Bible, yeah.
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think Andrew.
Andrew
My middle
David.
name is Matthew. That's where I got that one from.
Oh, yeah.
But my first name, they just thought it was cool, so they did it.
Right. What was Andrew? No, Andrew's one of the disciples, I think. I don't
I
know.
think so.
I don't know. I should know this. I should know this.
I don't know, man.
I found you guys' discussion on religion really interesting.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well,
Especially because for me, like I did not grow up in a Christian household, so it's like very interesting to see like what it was like growing up, like going to church, going to Sunday school. Like it's just like not an experience I can relate to. My first like brushing with religion was at Cubs, like Boy Scouts.
Oh,
So if you've ever been to Boy Scouts, like it's a religious organization,
Oh,
and I was not aware of that.
Boy Scouts are a religious organization.
Yeah, because I thought it was weird because like it's all based on the Jungle Book, like all the naming and everything, like all the titles of the elders are based on like Jungle Book characters. I'm like, oh, this is fun. It's like Disney. And then we got to like a kids camp, and they're like, okay, we're gonna say grace now. And I'm like, grace. And they're like, no. And then it's just a bunch of people with like their heads down, like you know, the one deep guy with a deep voice, you know,
Right.
Heavenly Father, like hallowed be thy name or whatever you say.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was happening. I'm like looking around, like freaked out. We're in the middle of the woods at nighttime, like in the like,
holding
circle.
hands?
I don't know. I don't remember holding hands with
Okay,
anybody, but it was just like it really was like a scary experience to me. And I was like, I don't like
oh no,
this.
it's terrifying if you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we're just
Honestly.
it's a cult.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Wait, are you religious?
No. I grew up like my parents never like ever even like made it an option kind of thing. It was almost like, yeah, we're Hindu. This is what we do, and it was like cultural, and I still think it is. Like we'll do the religious holidays and everything. It's like, okay, this is
Right.
what's expected in the house. And then one day I was just like, okay, I don't know if there's like any kid listeners, but like you reach a certain age. Yeah, when you start like realizing that not everything your parents told you when you were a kid was real, right?
1000%.
And some certain mythical creatures or characters in your life aren't actually there, and it's really your parents after all.
Right.
And so I just kind of like extrapolated to like, oh, so then like all these Hindu stories that I've grown up listening to are just like made up, right? My parents like, no, it's real.
That's where I'm at right
I'm
now.
like, oh, okay.
Right.
And so, but I can never believe them, right? Like, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So do you think that sort of like turned you off from it? I think like for
I think
me,
it was like more than anything, it was like my parents' reaction when it was like, no,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
That's the one.
very serious. You need to know this. This is their truth.
that's the one.
And then I was just like, I don't believe it. And they're like, and then my dad was like, this is so bad. Like my dad turned to my mom. He's like, where did we go wrong? I'm like,
Yeah.
That's pretty-
yikes.
People take
Yeah.
religion seriously, man.
No, people do that.
But I think it was actually around the time that like Bill Nye did his debate with Ken somebody.
Yeah, that
Ken Ham. I think his
Something.
name was. Do you guys remember this?
I don't remember seeing
I
this.
saw that. I don't remember like like what happened.
What? But it was basically like the Ken Ham was like a creationist.
Okay.
And so he thinks that, God created the earth. It's fine. But he's also like trying to educate kids that that's the case.
Oh.
And then Bill Nye was like, hey, listen,
Yeah.
like there's problems with that. And then that was my first kind of foray into like, oh, weird. Like religion is actually trying to like enter classrooms. Like that's kind of strange. And then I just kind of went down a YouTube rabbit hole of like all these instances where like, okay, I have friends who grew up in Catholic school. They didn't learn evolution, right? I'm like, okay, that's kind of important, like to understand how living beings, change over time.
Yeah. I think it's important to learn, like to sort of, but it's not like one extreme end. Like you shouldn't be just focusing on religion. It should be like, combination of both. Because I feel like with religion, it is important to know there's like a lot of culture to it as well. But I also feel like the stories, like the symbolic meanings from the stories tells a lot about like life or whatever, but maybe you can't take it literally.
If you go to a religious school, I think it's fine. But in the public school sense, I don't think there should be any religion because not every kid's the same religion. It's just kind of unfair to force your religion on 10 different ethnicities.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. My dad had to say he had to do a prayer every morning when he went to school in Canada back in the day.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like it was a morning prayer. It was like a thing. And then I think at some point it became optional and then it just got dropped.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Okay, no, that's what you meant, right? Like forcing religion.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there should be like religious studies, like an option to study about the religion.
Yeah, because it is a big part of the world.
but not like, oh, everyone should be praying.
No, not everyone
Yeah.
should be the same religion. Like there's so many different religions.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's like people we mentioned earlier before, but like that's why people like kids who grew up in religious households turn away from it.
Yeah.
Because like they were forced to do it.
Yeah, and I think like, yeah, I think when you mentioned a point where like you need to teach kids like why people are religious in the first place, and like the most people that I've known who grew up unreligious and became religious, it's like because they went through a traumatic experience and then like having that community help them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that's like providing a service that like can be a positive benefit in your life, but like doing it out of like just for the sake of just like either like putting on a face, like showing up to church on Sundays so then like people in your community won't judge you. I was like, okay, that's kind of like,
no.
I don't like that kind of pressure, right? Like, oh, you
Yeah.
need to come to church, you need to do this, you need to give us your money for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, if I want to come to church service only on Christmas and Easter, I should be able to only come on Christmas and Easter without getting judged, kind of thing.
Right.
So I think, there's definitely like human forces that are kind of like spoiling what should have otherwise be just like a helpful force.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think it's out of like a good intention though? Just because they believe it so much that, oh, everyone should believe in God because you're gonna go to heaven. So it's like out of almost like a goodness.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Is it? Or do you think
It's like a good villain motive when it's like, it's like, I understand your morals. I understand where you're coming from, but I disagree with your conclusion. But it's like a really like, I can totally understand. Like it's a kind-hearted, in their mind, it's like really kind-hearted.
it's like, oh, I want you to be saved. you
Yeah,
know?
but then like, okay, like where does that extend to? It's like, okay, so teenage pregnancy, right? Like that's one of the leading causes of poverty, right? The more you educate women about reproductive health and well-being, then you increase the, I guess, like economic well-being of your nation, right? Contraceptives and all that. But then like, okay, if you're like but if you honestly believe that like God, your like existence on earth is to reproduce, then like you might stop people from getting abortions or using contraceptives, things that might actually help them in their personal lives, especially if it's, okay, this is getting into the dark place.
No, just keep going.
It's a
No, we're there.
child of, just reading a story today, like a daughter was sexually abused by her father, became pregnant with the father's child, her own father's child, and then had to get an abortion, but then was able to go to school because of it and didn't have to like stay home and take care of the child and direct her life towards having a child. Right. So obviously it's like a hot fucking fun topic. We don't have to go down that road. But what I'm saying is like by being well-meaning and thinking like, okay, we need to keep this child because it's a God, but then you're ruining somebody else's life at the same time. So it's like, there's like pros and cons to like, you are really well-meaning, but I think the conclusion of what you think because of that, I think is like wrong, if that makes sense.
I don't want to go down this whole. I'll just do it real quickly. But like, I feel like abortion is kind of like the whole like public school religion thing. Like, just have it be an option, like your personal beliefs, whatever. But legally, I don't see why you should force Christian values in the legal system,
Right. Yeah.
or whatever religion it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit more clear with the Constitution in the United States because they have like separation of church and state, so it's like a little bit more clear.
At this point, who knows?
Okay, well, they're supposed to anyway.
Yeah, no,
But yeah.
Jayden makes fun of Christians a lot.
I don't make fun of them.
Or he,
I'm where Nivan is right now. Like I'm just,
Yeah.
grew up in this thing, and now I'm growing up. I'm like, hey, how is Christianity the only religion of Hindus, the first religion in the world?
Is Hinduism
I think Hindu's the oldest religion there is.
Yeah, it's like it's
Something like
evolved
that.
from like older. I'm sure.
So it's like, how can like some things just don't add up to me? And it's just
Yeah, and then it's the same. Okay, so we can get into with a well-meaning discussion with Mother Teresa. Are you guys familiar with like Mother Teresa?
Mother Teresa
course.
did some shit, man.
Yeah, exactly.
force.
That woman.
Yeah. So it's like in her eyes, what she was doing was baptizing a bunch of Hindu people, and in her eyes, it was like they were heathens, and now they're baptized, and now they will be able to be accepted into heaven. But they were sick of curable diseases, and so rather than actually providing them with medicine, she just baptized them, thinking, okay, well they'll be fine because they'll move on to heaven, and like, you know, be in God's good graces, whereas before they were Hindus and they were going to go to hell, right? So that in her mind and in the mind of the church, because they obviously gave her like saint status, that was a positive service that she did. But then like on the outside looking in, you're like, wait a minute, like you're sharing needles, you're not giving them proper nutrition, you're not giving them beds to sleep in, and
The mic fell.
Oh, we're good. Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
no, it's just interesting that like, yeah, people's perspectives can be different, and I would argue that it's a mixed bag when it comes to the services of religion.
Is that what happened? She baptized people instead of actually curing them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is all told by nurses that like they would go on missionaries. I don't know if it's like considered like being missionary, but they would essentially like do service. Like they get to a certain age, they'd go to the hospital, quote unquote hospital of Mother Teresa in India, and then realize like, hey, listen, like this isn't sanitary. We're not feeding these people properly. We can just give them medicine that is available already, like at a drugstore, and that this would like cure their conditions.
Right.
And they're like, no, that's not what God wants. It's like, okay. Well, luckily, I think there's a German couple that they set up a hospital across the street. So
Right.
Across the street.
yeah, they literally across the street, and they're just like, okay, come here instead, please.
Yeah.
We'll cure you, and you can live again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of things they don't tell you that has happened in this world that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
They'll just brush over it. Oh yeah, it's fine.
This would be a good segue point then. So it's like cancer, right? So the cancer
I was
is
about
like,
to segue to it.
yeah, because it's like
Yeah.
one of those things is so interesting. Is like my mom, who is more religious. It's funny about this conversation in hindsight, but she was Hindu at the time. And then I got cancer when I was like 16.
16.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
I messed that up in our video. I said 15.
Yeah,
My dad's
I
like mad at me.
I'm mad at you. That's
you
not
not
when you got cancer.
Look at the calendar. Look at the stars.
Look at the
Wrong
star
way.
alignments.
Your alignment's off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I was 16 at the time, and I was already atheist at that point. And so my parents and I had our arguments already at that point. And when I got diagnosed, my mom's like, "Hey, listen, like when people go through scary experiences, sometimes they rethink their religion. Have you rethought anything?"
Jeez.
And I said, "Okay, let me listen to this. So you think that I didn't used to believe in God, and now that I've gotten cancer, you want me to believe that there is a God who gave me cancer and is trying to kill me right now?"
Can we go to the doctor?
Yeah, and the doctors over there who aren't part of a religious organization
Can
are
we
the
go
ones who
across the
save my
street
life.
real quick?
Yeah, can we go across the street? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so it was an
Yeah.
interesting talk, and it wasn't even me, because obviously like you could look at it from a different perspective, say like, okay, because I was atheist, I got a life-threatening illness, right?
That's fucked.
Yeah, like okay, like, fine, let's just use that logic.
Punishment.
But
Whatever. Yeah.
most of the people weren't my age. Most of them were babies, right?
Yeah.
And so they have leukemia, they have like all these awful brain tumors, and they can't speak English, right? Like that's how young they are. And that was hard to see. And I don't know if it was that or if it was just the experience as a whole. My mom left Hinduism and not me. So I was already atheist.
What?
So my mom's, she's Buddhist, but she's not like,
Oh.
she's spiritually Buddhist. She's not like,
No, like she turned
yeah,
Buddhist?
she changed her religion after the
Oh.
whole experience, not me. Which is funny because we had that conversation. She was asking if I had changed. She ended up being the one who changed.
Like
me,
she changed when you got cancer?
by the end of it, by
Jeez.
the end of the experience, she had converted. Yeah, so it's just funny how
That is
how things changed. But yeah, long story short, like that was like a really scary experience for me, seeing the kids, because when you're going through chemo, like it's rough, obviously, and I'm sure radiation. I didn't have radiation, but like for the people with radiation, it's also like really weakening. But like I can fully articulate what I'm feeling. Like, okay, I'm in pain. I'm like my stomach's not feeling well. I'm hungry. I'm craving this, right? Because you get like you do not want to eat when you're on chemo, because the idea is like your body thinks you've been poisoned through consumption. So your body's like, don't eat any more food because we're poisoning ourselves.
right.
Because obviously your brain doesn't know that you've just got that stuff injected in you.
Right.
Right. And so you don't want to eat. Then suddenly you'll want to eat really random shit. I craved mayonnaise. I loved mayonnaise when I was on chemotherapy, and Skittles. So basically I consumed a diet of like frozen pizzas and Skittles for like months on end, because it was like it was like pregnancy cravings. Like this is all I wanted. And then sometimes the moment I would eat them, I just completely turned off, especially if I threw it up. So I loved beans and rice. I was always a huge beans and rice guy.
Okay.
And then I threw it up one time while I was on chemo. I like, especially that, like the type that I had, never could eat it again. And to the point where like one time my parents were telling a story, I just eaten like my first meal in a week. Like I had a full meal. I was super happy. I kept it down. I hadn't thrown up, and I was like really, feeling good. And then my parents were like, "Yeah, I'm so glad that Niven's eating because like before, just mentioning food like beans and rice would make him throw up." I just dumped all my meal right out. Just the mention of
what?
the food that I had thrown up before. Just the mention of that beans and rice. I still my mouth, my like saliva is coming fast. Like that was just like,
that's
yeah,
like you're like conditioned even to
yeah,
the word of it.
Pavlovian, like yeah.
Holy
So
crap.
yeah, it was messed up. I was man, that food was awful. They'd come in because it was hospital food that I'd thrown up too, and they come in with these carts down the aisle at BC Children's, and it's just like it would waft into your room, and everyone would close their doors because it just smelled so bad, and
It was that bad.
it was awful. So luckily, like for us, my mom was able to cook, but not everybody has their parents there. That's what's tough too. Like, okay, your new parents, right? You just like probably like budgeted to have like your child, and then like thought that the dad was going to go back to work. Well, suddenly now your child is like dying. You have to go to BC Children's to get chemotherapy. You can't get it anywhere else if you're a child. You have to come to Vancouver. You have to go to BC Children's.
Nowhere else.
Nowhere else. That's why I had to go. I was in
Right.
Rupert. I was in
Right.
Prince Rupert, and I had to come to Vancouver. But luckily, there's some services like the Ronald McDonald House. It's where I volunteer now, but they're basically like a hostel of sorts, but just for families who are going to BC Children's and Women's. And they have like kitchens and food and everything for you taken care of there. But if you're a parent, like you still have to get income somehow, even though it's basically free to stay at the Ronald McDonald House, and we don't pay for healthcare here in Canada, thank God. Well, through our taxes, but yeah. But you still like you could only have really like most families could only have one parent at a time, like there with their child
Yes, right.
going through this like awful experience.
Right.
I got lucky. My parents are small business owners, so they just ran the business virtually. Before it was cool.
Before it was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Oh man, we were
Yeah.
way ahead of the curve. I wore masks when going outside because I didn't want to get sick because I had no immune system.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we worked from home. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Work from home, mass, e-commerce before that, all that. yeah.
Simpsons.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah, we predicted everything.
You guys are the ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeez.
I'm gonna like backtrack. So you say you got cancer 16.
Yeah.
When was like, what did you feel? I guess like prior to it, like how was that? How did you like discover?
Sure.
Discover, if that's the right word.
Yeah, totally. I'll just give you the
Right.
Cliff Notes version because it was a long process. It was basically, it's hard to say exactly when it started. I had PE in like the spring, and every once in a while I'd have like leg pains, and then I think that was just probably cramping from running, but that was probably the earliest sign of like, hey, my leg hurts, right?
This was in like elementary.
It's a high school, so it's 16, so I was in grade 10, right?
Oh,
Okay, this was fast.
Also, it was just on that year of being like diagnosed with it.
Oh yeah, it was quick. Well, okay, the cancer I have
Oh.
it was osteosarcoma, which is metastatic, which means it like spreads throughout the
Right.
body, and it was just rapid growth. So it's really
Oh, wow.
fast growing tumor.
Right.
And so I started feeling it in spring. By June, I don't know if you guys had these, but we had like award ceremonies
Yes.
where like the school would give you awards or whatever.
Yes.
And we did it at our performing arts center, which seats like 700 people, big
Okay.
theater, right? And they need somebody to do lights. I was the tech guy at the time, so I would do lights in the booth. And it was I had never been told by my family that I was going to receive an award. They always call the families ahead of time to tell them, hey, your child's going to get an award. If you want to come to this event, be there. My parents didn't tell me that I was getting an award.
Okay.
And so I volunteered to do the lights, and I assumed I wasn't going to get an award. The booth is all the way at the top of the theater, and then it's like 5 flights of stairs down to the stage.
Jeez.
I won every award for an award for every class I was in.
Oh wow.
Which meant I was running up and down stairs, consistency for like over an hour, basically just
cardio
running
in.
stairs, right?
Jeez.
Wait, but why did I tell you that you
My
got
parents wanted to surprise me.
Okay.
I don't think they knew I was going to sign up to do the lights.
Okay,
But it
okay,
basically
okay.
positioned me as far away from the stage as possible.
Just 5 flights. Okay.
Yeah, I was just constantly doing stairs up and down, up and down. And so one of the times I was trying to save time and I jumped because I figured I was like, okay, I'm going downstairs. Rather than individually going downstairs, I'll just jump forward and then I'll land on the platform and then like save time.
Okay.
right?
Hops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hops, yeah. But I landed like hard on my left leg and then I felt unsafe. Like I landed on the leg and I was like, whoa, this is like, I just feel wrong.
Like pain?
Yeah. And I basically think I'm like, okay, I've fucked up my leg somehow.
Sure, like a sprain or
Yeah,
whatever.
sprain. Yeah, whatever it is. So I was just like, okay, whatever. So I started limping, right?
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I just learned like, you take like PE and it's like rest, ice, compression, elevation, right? You do RICE.
Which is false actually, but
Okay,
sorry.
interesting.
Sorry.
Okay, we can talk about that. But yeah. And so I did that. I basically rested and did a lot of fun
Yes.
stuff, right? And then like a couple weeks passed. And I'm like, okay, still here, not going away. Let me go to the doctor. And then at this point, like the symptoms that was happening was like a red inflamed knee, and like every once in a while shooting pains in my leg, but for the most part it was just like a sore knee. And so we go to the doctor and I'm like, here, these are my symptoms. And she's like, okay, what you have is inflammation in your knee, in your bursa. So it's bursitis.
Okay.
And she's like, well, it should go away in a couple weeks. Just do physio, just, rest, ice, compression, elevation.
Right.
So I kept doing that. And I was like working a summer job for like most of the day. And I'd be so tired after work, I'd just sleep. So I was basically, my whole summer was like working, sleeping.
And you're usually not like that.
I'm not usually like that.
Right.
Like I usually, like I would like lay down. As soon as I got home, I laid down, stayed laid down the whole day, went to sleep, got my food brought to me sometimes because I was just so tired.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, it's because I'm working hard. It's because I'm working hard. My job ends in August. I'll worry about this in August. And I'm like, okay, my leg's still not getting better. Maybe I'll go back to the doctor. I go to see my family doctor instead of Emerge this time. Same thing, bursitis. Okay, just got to do my physio. Just got to do this, got to do that. Then I noticed I was like, man, this physio is actually hurting me. And I'm like, I don't think this is right. Like some of the physios, like it's crazy to think about in the hindsight because I was basically losing my bone in my left leg.
Right.
But I would be like putting my leg up and then leaning on it, like basically putting pressure on my bones in my leg.
That was deteriorating.
Yeah, that's deteriorating.
Right.
And so like I was just like, man, this is not working. And then the most like drastic change I noticed was like tired for sure, like losing a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I would start sitting down like just at normal times of the day. I was doing theater, so I was in 2 plays, and I would just start sitting on stage. Like I didn't even stand while performing. I would just sit and perform.
Because you were that tired.
I was that tired, yeah.
Right.
And I was like, oh, just get off my leg, it'll be good. And then stairs was scary. Like so, I would go from like doing 2 steps at a time to being like, okay, maybe I'll just do 1 step at a time. Then it was like, okay, maybe I'll like do a step, catch up, do a step, catch up. And then one day I was in my room, which is on the 2nd floor, and I was going to go down to the kitchen, and I looked at the stairs, and like I got like a fight or flight response of like fear, like in my like gut.
Jeez.
And I was just like, I sat down, I butt scooched down those stairs.
Oh man.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, something's definitely wrong. And at that point I was like, okay, it's gotten worse. I was like in denial, but I'm like, it's actually gotten worse.
This is already like a few months.
This is like 2 months.
Few months since the award.
Yeah.
Wait, so okay. At the award you said you heard it when you jumped, right?
Yeah.
How many more awards did you have to collect after that?
I don't remember.
Did you have to just
It was like halfway through.
did you just end up limping back up to the booth?
Yeah,
No, what I started doing was the process was like I basically just told them I was like I'm not gonna do the lights anymore because it was basically nothing I had to do anyways. It was just like okay, house at half.
Okay.
That,
So you
whatever.
just stayed down.
Yeah, I just changed the psych lights every once in a while.
That was just in my
background.
head. I was like,
Zoom call in.
okay.
So basically, just stayed backstage at one point. It's like okay, I'll just keep going.
That makes sense.
Yeah, humble brag, but
Yeah.
Yeah, too many awards. Suffering from success,
right? But so at this point, I'm like, okay, I should really go see the doctor.
Yes.
And you get an X-ray done. And now, like, just to put you in like the mindset of where I was at, like, so obviously I won all those awards. I was riding high, like I had a high ego, obviously. But like, I was like, school's going good. I'm heading into grade 11. This is gonna be great. I get to do like more of my courses, right? Because you're done provincials at this point. Maybe you didn't do provincials.
No,
we had provincials.
We did.
Yeah, and so we had a Disneyland trip planned like 2 weeks from this point. I was gonna get my wisdom teeth removed. I think it was like I had a lot of things lined up. I had just gotten braces, so my bottom teeth are pretty messed up. So I was gonna get braces. I got them put on.
Okay.
2 days after I got them put on, we go to get the X-ray done, and like it was like taking way too long. Like it was taking a really long time. We got the X-ray done, and then the X-ray tech's like, you know what? Like maybe we should just get a CT scan done just in case while we're waiting for the doctor. Is what she tells me. These X-ray techs are brilliant actors. They're like totally lying through their teeth
Because they already saw.
They already knew. They already knew at this point. So they saw on the X-ray, and then they're getting a CT to make sure.
You said taking too long, as in like taking too long to get back to you
To get
about
back
it?
to us, yeah. Like okay, we got they got the scan, fine, and then the results were taking a long time.
Right.
And then we started like worrying a little bit. And so I like cast my mind about it. I'm like, okay, so we've gotten this X-ray, we've got the CT scan. This is like more than I've ever had to do in my life. This leg's obviously a problem. What's the worst? What's the worst thing it could be? And I was like, arthritis. And I'm like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it's arthritis.
God damn it.
And then the X-ray tech comes back and she's got a wheelchair. And she's like, Nivan, I need you to not walk on that leg again because you might break it. That's what she says. She's like, I don't want you putting any pressure on that leg. You're going to be in a wheelchair for a little bit.
Jeez.
Again, the wheelchair wheels me into a room with a doctor I've never met. He happened to be locuming. But thank God he was, because he was from Doctors Without Borders, and he had seen like hundreds of cases of what I had. But his bedside manner wasn't the best. And so he's just casually like, yeah, so you can see through the CT scan what you're seeing is a growth in your leg. And so really like the survival rate's pretty good. And my dad's like, whoa.
Survival
Like,
rate, arthritis.
Yeah, like
Arthritis doesn't do anything.
yeah. Oh my God.
how lethal is arthritis?
I just stretch it out.
Yeah.
All right.
And then my dad like basically fainted. And then I started crying and he was crying and it was just awful. And it was just like, it was just awful news. Because he told us it was cancer.
Right.
And like to understand what it was. And it was nobody in my family had ever had it. There's no history of it. It was just completely like taken off guard. We had to tell my mom who was at work, but like you also needed her to drive there on her own. So it was like, how do you tell somebody over the phone to come to the hospital, but also in a way that she's going to make it safely? Like it was tough, right? And so, yeah, it was just a wild couple days. Like basically everybody from my family came and everyone was like in hysterics.
Yeah.
But like I kind of took on the mindset like pretty soon of like, okay, let me just figure out like what the survival rate is. And like luckily you can go on the internet now and just look it up. So
Sure.
like, it's like 90%.
Okay.
It's like, that's pretty good, right?
Good.
And so I had like a positive attitude. We managed to make it to Children's within a couple days. And we were thinking that we were going to go to Children's for scans and just like go back home and come back. So we packed like a couple days worth of clothes. And then we were there for like in total like 9 months. Like it was just like a permanent thing.
Right.
But as soon as we got to Children's though, we were like, we're in good hands. Like Children's
Okay.
is like full of experts. They everybody knows what they're doing. They've seen 100 cases like of the same cancer.
Yeah.
And so I at least wasn't worried about survival anymore. It was more about like, how long is this going to take? I want to get back to school. Like school was priority, right? And it was just kind of like a waiting game. You go through chemo. So the way the chemo cycles work is like, at least for me, it's different for every cancer.
Okay.
And every cancer has multiple treatments in case one doesn't work.
Right.
But for me, it worked out like this way. You had 6 rounds. One round for the, I'll just start with this. So
Sure.
one round
Yep.
was a chemo. Next week, 7 days later, a chemo. 7 days later, a chemo. That's one round. Okay. So you get it on like say Monday. This is how my schedule started. You get it on Monday. They give it to you in the morning. You then get a room at around 6 p.m. You sleep. You stay in the hospital for 3 days. And then you go home for the last 4 days before you come back for chemo again. Okay. So it'd be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you've cleared the chemo out of your system, because I guess I should clarify, like how the chemo was administered was intravenously.
Right.
So I have, okay, I don't know if you guys can see this, if this shows up on camera. You guys see a scar here?
On your
It's not a hickey. It's a
on
scar.
the neck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, on my neck.
I thought it was a
Can you guys can you guys see that? Can you just show it?
Oh, it's on your side.
Wait, I can actually zoom in
Oh, jeez.
on. Oh, there you go. There you go. If you guys can see that right there.
Okay.
Anyways.
All right, that's enough. So anyways, but the point is like, everyone thinks it's a hickey, but it's not. It's a scar. So
Okay.
I have a scar on my chest. They put what's called a port in. So it's like, it was like this big. It had like 2 sides in case they needed to give me 2 things at the same time. It goes under your skin. So they cut your skin open, lift your skin up, put it on top of the muscle, put your skin back on top, sew it up, run a wire up, cut your skin open here, pull it out, cut your vein, put it in your vein, and then it leads to your heart. Jeez. And so like your vena cava, I had a tube leading like externally into the vena cava, and they could just keep accessing this port anytime they need to give me liquid drugs, basically. So I would go in on the Monday, they'd inject it, clear it, like make sure the port's clean, give me whatever like pre-drugs they needed to make sure that like I make sure my heart's not affected by the chemo and all this kind of stuff. And then they would they'd have the IV pole. They'd give you a bunch of hydration because you basically need to be like peeing clear, because you need to have, as soon as the chemo's in, you need to get it out of your body as fast as possible. Okay.
Oh.
So they once they hydrate you and they're happy with your hydration levels, they stick like a whatever colored bag, like pink or brown, like I had different colored chemos, but that's the chemo bag. They hook you up. You're still like attached like into your chest, and then you'll just feel it enter you. And it's like, depending on what it is, like if it's saline, my tongue felt weird. If it was baking soda, my skin felt weird. But if it was chemo, you just felt like gross. like really gross,
Like
like you're feverish, I guess, like just
Okay.
that, like just your whole body feels heavy,
okay.
and so they'd inject you with the chemo, and right away you're gonna get sick, and so I would take Gravol. I'd get liquid Gravol, so it's like instant acting,
Right.
and so the moment that I got the chemo, I got drowsy. And then I would just sleep basically for like 12 hours or whatever. Like I would just like knock myself out as soon as I got the chemo. And then the next days, what the nurses would be doing, their job is to make sure that you're hydrated. So they'd keep adding hydration and that you're peeing every 2 hours, which really in reality was every hour. So you're peeing like, basically like 500 mils. Like if it's a huge amount of water that's passing through your body
And you're peeing
every hour.
because they need to make sure you're getting hydration.
That you're just getting the chemo out of your body. So like the chemo would be your pee would be the color of your chemo. So if it was like a pink chemo that I was taking, like I would piss like this much pink
It
water
would have to be pink or whatever. Okay.
every hour. Yeah.
And if you didn't pee it out,
I would die.
you would die.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to Google how chemo works.
I'm not sure you die,
So
but you'd hurt yourself. So the way chemo works is like especially the one I was taking. I'm not sure. Maybe different chemos work
Right.
different ways.
Okay. This is chemo.
But mine is like every cell that's reproducing at the time that the chemo is near dies. Okay. So it stops. It kills cells that are reproducing.
Reversing.
Right. So that doesn't really happen that often in your brain. So your brain's fine. Right. Or maybe it doesn't even cross the blood-brain barrier. I'm not sure. But then, so your tumor is the fastest reproducing cells in your body. So the chemo gets hurt the most, or the tumor gets hurt the most by the chemo.
So when the chemo, how long is the chemo in your body though?
Like in its highest concentration, a couple hours. In smaller concentrations, like 3 or 4 days. That's why you can't get out of the hospital till it's like a low enough percentage in your bloodstream.
But then you have to pee it out, you said?
Yeah, yeah.
After 3 to 4.
It takes 3 to 4 days for it to leave your body. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So then, okay, but it doesn't fully come out when you pee, obviously, right?
No, just like a chunk of it will, like a
Right,
percentage.
but then
like
you
think
have
about it like as 50% and then like 25, and then like you're just splitting 25 into 12.5 into the 6.75. Into,
Right.
Whatever
But
it
then
is,
you
right?
have to keep peeing or else it'll just stay for too long.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Did you have issues flying back and forth? Because I had a coworker who'd taken chemo and like she was so radioactive she shut off the border computers and they put her in a room like she was an alien or something
That's
like that.
crazy.
What?
Yeah, she had so much radiation that like when she crossed the border or something like that, the border security computer shut off, like went crazy. So they flagged her into a different room because they were like, "Why the fuck did you shut off our computers? Like,
Wow.
what are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm on chemo right now.
That's crazy.
Like, I'm just radiation right now."
But it's chemo radiation?
Yeah, I didn't. That's one. I always thought that they were the same thing.
It's not
but they're
radiation,
two
right?
different things.
Yeah.
So luckily I didn't have to get radiation.
Okay.
Because it didn't work on the bone, I guess. But yeah, if you have like lung cancer or something, then you get radiation.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've never heard about that, like it being that bad that it shut down border security.
It was fucked.
I only got to travel once though when
Okay.
I was on chemo. I went back. I had to take a break between chemo and surgery, and so I went home for like about a week. But that was it. So 9 months, basically uninterrupted, with the exception of a week. I was in Vancouver, despite living in Prince Rupert.
Is radiation for lungs because they can't afford to have the chemo go through the lungs because they might kill the whole lung?
I think they usually get both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I think the surgery is tough with lung cancer, and so I think you have to shrink the size of the tumor before you can do surgery
Okay.
because it's such a delicate tissue. I think.
So you got surgery first?
So I mentioned like one cycle.
Yes,
so
you're on one
it's
cycle.
chemo,
Right.
and then I did that twice, and then I had to wait for my surgeon to get back from vacation, otherwise it would have been right away. And then they resect, whatever, they get rid of the tumor, right? So if you think about like a shin, I have a photo of this. Maybe I'll send it to you. You can add it in post. But like you have two bones in your leg, as far as I understand. So there's the tibia and the fibula. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the tibia is where my tumor was, and it was in the proximal part, which means it was closer to my knee.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so it's really close to my knee.
Oh,
The problem with that is that's where all the tendons attach.
Right.
So your patellar tendon, right?
Yes.
That runs over your kneecap, right?
Yes.
Or is it under? Anyway,
It's over.
it's over, right? Okay. So that all attaches at that part. So not only did I have to get my tibia removed, part of it, I think it was like 17 centimeters, then you had to find something to attach the tendons to. And because you have to remove the tendons essentially, or at the very least like reconstruct it.
Yes.
I had to get a knee replacement at the same time.
Wow.
So the tibia was cut, part of my femur was cut, and then I had the plastic part of the knee joint, the other plastic part attached to a metal rod. The rod goes into the remaining part of my tibia. So then all my tibias, or half my tibia is metal. Then the plastic knee joint on that prosthetic part, and then the plastic part on my femur together make an artificial knee joint. All the tendons attached onto the metal part of my tibia. And then to protect it, they needed tissue, which they took from my gastroc.
Right.
So I got my gastroc removed.
Right.
I got most of my shin removed, and I got my knee removed. Not my like patella, the bone, but the joint, the knee joint.
Right.
So all that got taken out in one surgery in like 5 hours. Like, so
That's
yeah. So it's really complicated surgery. There's only 3 people in Canada who are certified to do it.
that's amazing. Well,
And
that's
my-
not amazing, but like that's
Yeah, it's
the
remarkable.
the
Yeah.
surgery. Whoa.
Modern
So-
science is insane.
Insane. It's only been around for like, I think 10 years. This
Oh
surgery.
my god.
And so normally it's just amputation, right? That's what Terry Fox did. I had the same cancer as Terry Fox. So-
Okay.
So you just amputate and you get chemo
But
before.
because there's no way.
There's no way. There never used to be a way to save the leg. Yeah. But now I know a couple of people who've gotten it now, like in BC. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it was really cool. Like the actual, like if you look at it, like the picture of it is really cool. And
Yeah.
everyone called me the Bionic Man. So all the nurses and hadn't seen it before, and they're all
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I saw your X-ray. It's so cool." Like this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So the surgery went well. Mostly, it was a 90% recovery. I lost a bit of range, so I can't extend 100%, and I can only bend 90 degrees.
Okay.
So I can't run. I can't do certain activities. But it's fine. I'm not complaining. I have 2 legs. So yeah. So that happened, and then the tumor. That was the most important thing. When they take out the tumor, they can look at it and
Okay.
see how many cells are alive.
Well.
It was 100% dead. So 2 months, basically 2 months in, 2 cycles in, I was cancer free, basically.
Right.
So I was like, mind cleared at that point. And that's when we just started doing fun shit. We went to Canucks games, like, because they would give tickets away. So we got like Canucks tickets. I saw the Oilers. I'm an Oilers fan. I saw the Oilers play. I saw
Okay.
McDavid like in person.
Okay.
Not like I didn't meet him, but I saw him
But
play.
you saw him play. Yeah.
I think it was either St. Louis or Dallas, because I've been to a couple games.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I got to see them play Vancouver, like in the lower area,
Lower
like
area.
good seats.
Yes.
When it was warm. And so I did that. I went. One of the volunteers gave me Cirque du Soleil tickets.
Wow.
I went on a preview night. That was awesome. Like, so there's like, most of the people weren't there. It was just like a couple sections were open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember all the good things, but I had tons of great opportunities.
Right.
Queen Elizabeth Park was right across the street. Got to visit the bird kind of like area there. Yeah, tons of cool experiences. Especially coming from a small town, like I got to explore Vancouver. And, yeah. So I mostly look back on it as a positive experience.
Wow.
It was a great Christmas, like a really small, like intimate Christmas. And then there was a special screening of The Hateful Eight, which is a Quentin Tarantino movie. Bloody awesome. Shoot 'em.
I didn't watch it yet. I need to watch it.
It's a
but
great
yes,
movie,
Yes.
and we got to see it on Christmas and it was shot. It was projected with film,
Wow.
which was like they were only doing that in 6 theaters across Canada.
Yeah.
Park Theater happened to be one of the 6, and it's right next to BC Children's Hospital, so I was right there.
Yeah.
So there's tons of great opportunities that came up because of that, and I'd say like overall, I look back on it as a good time,
Wow.
despite all the scary parts of it, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like the downers. I had a friend, Rowan, she passed away. And
Right.
that was awful. But,
Right. Right.
And she had to get her leg amputated.
Right.
But most of my friends made it. I had a buddy who's had leukemia. He made it okay. That's a scary thing. Leukemia is crazy because you have to quarantine for a month. Before it was cool. But it was like real quarantining. It was like because he had blood marrow transplant.
Right.
Oh jeez.
Bone marrow transplant, sorry. He had a perfect match. I think it was his sister. Was it his sister? Anyways, it was a perfect match. And but it's 30 days, no contact with anybody. So they put like a blue light in your room to like kill all the microbes or whatever. And then when you want to visit him, you soap up with this like pink soap. You rub pink soap on every surface of your skin. Then you wear like a hazmat suit basically, and then you can go see him. This kid's 8, right? Like
my
it
God.
was crazy. Yeah, the fact that he made it through that.
Wait, so for those listening, leukemia is cancer of
Bone marrow, I think. Yeah,
bone marrow.
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yes.
And so you basically need to get your bone marrow changed. Yeah, which is wild.
But okay, wait, but why does it need to be so? Why do you need quarantine? Because
you basically that's where your white blood cells are produced. I think
oh right, so then
yeah.
you're
you have no immune system.
No immune system.
So like anything could kill you. Common
Anything.
cold could kill you. Yeah.
right.
So
right.
he was basically like bubble boy. Like he couldn't
Yeah.
interact with the environment.
Right, because he'll just
would die. Yeah.
Right.
What the? F-
Even me, man. Like I had no ANC count, so I had like a really low white blood cell count. And so if I told you that I would spend 3 days in hospital and then 4 days at home, it wasn't like that. I spent 3 days. The 5-minute trip between BC Children's and Ronald McDonald House, I would get sick basically every time.
Whoa.
So I would get sick because I have no immune system.
Right.
I'd get a fever. That's a medical emergency because I have no immune system, and so I could die. So I would then, like, as soon as I got back to Ronald McDonald House, I'd have a fever. I'd go back to BC Children's. This time I'd emerge. I'd skip it because of the triage. Like, I would go right to the front of the line. I'd skip everybody who was waiting. They would immediately check me in, put me on antibiotics, and start checking if I had a bacterial infection. If I had a viral infection, my body could probably fight it off. If I had a bacterial infection, I wouldn't be able to. So they would give me antibiotics to make sure that I would survive regardless of whatever I had. And then I would have to wait until my immune system was good enough to leave the hospital again and get chemo. So you couldn't get chemo unless your immune system was a certain height. So oftentimes what that meant was I would get 3 days of chemo, go home, get sick immediately, come into the hospital for maybe 3 days, or even worse, 4. And then sometimes I would just get transferred from like the emerge ward that I was in to the oncology ward, and I would just start chemo again. So I'd spend I think I spent 3 consecutive weeks in the hospital, getting chemo, getting sick, being on antibiotics, getting chemo, being sick, being on antibiotics, getting chemo, being sick.
Couldn't they just keep you in the hospital?
I just kept me in the hospital, yeah.
But couldn't they just keep you there and just save the fever?
No, I see. Well, I wanted to go home. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to just
man, especially the cancer ward's nice now. It was awful back then. Rooms with no windows.
Jeez.
The only entertainment they had was they had these push cart TVs with VHS tapes, like VCRs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So I had an iPad. I watched Netflix. Whatever. I watched Parks and Rec. I think we got through a couple of shows, right? But it was
So
being in hospital was depressing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So your immune system is down because of the chemo, though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it kills everything. It kills any cell that's reproducing, right?
There was no other way around, getting sick. Like they couldn't have. I don't know what else you could have done. You just had to get sick, right? That just had to happen because you had to go from the Ronald McDonald to the hospital.
Yeah.
There's no.
I wore a mask to help prevent, right? So
But that didn't really. Well, I guess to help maybe, but you still got sick.
I still got sick. Well, they told me back in the day that masks were only good every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that true?
That's what they said in the beginning of COVID.
So that's why I was skeptical of masks when COVID first happened. But yeah, I don't know, maybe microbes are everywhere. Like, it could have just been in the air.
Yeah.
It could have just been I don't know, suspended in moisture or something. Somebody spit on me. I don't know.
Right.
But I would get sick every single time. Plus, you're entering the Ronald McDonald House has 70 families, so
Yeah.
they can't sterilize every surface.
Right.
So, yeah, I could have gotten sick in a lot of ways, but yeah, who knows? It was just it could get depressing. Yeah. And I did pre-calc 12 at the same time. So that was depressing too. What the fuck?
At the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah. I mean, it took a year to do it, but yeah, I did it eventually. They have a school.
All this.
Yeah.
Pre-calc 12.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. But
I got a good mark.
I hope so.
with the fact
Yeah,
that
there's just sympathy marking me. They're like, just give him the A.
you just feel bad.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But the fact that you still look back, you said it's mainly positive.
Yeah, it was mainly a positive experience. Yeah. I met a ton of great people. Doctors and nurses were awesome. The people around McDonald House are awesome.
Right.
There's a teen room in the Ronald McDonald House, which is like 70-inch screens. They had a PlayStation 4 when the PS4 had just come out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just uninterrupted gaming for hours. It just played online with
Right.
friends. Yeah.
And the Ronald McDonald is where you met a lot of your friends there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Because all the families were together. All the oncology people were in one corner of the building. So all the parents were talking to each other. Then you just start talking to other kids. There's one hilarious girl. She was 6 probably.
Yeah.
She was on
Okay.
chemo at the same time. And so she was totally innocent, but she would even though there's the teen room and you're kids aren't allowed.
Sure.
I'm not going to kick her out. She's a cute little 6-year-old.
Yeah.
So she'd come watch me and I'm murdering people on Call of Duty or Uncharted or whatever I'm playing.
Yeah.
And she's like, why do you want to kill all these people? They didn't do anything to you. I was like, oh, no, honey, don't worry about it. I'm just putting them to sleep. She's like, oh, okay. So guns make people sleep? I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow, damn. So
but yeah, there's downsides too. I look mostly back on it positively. The main downsides for me was all my friends growing up without me. I'd say most of the downsides I realized once I got back to Rupert, because like everybody started drinking, everybody was fucking each other, right? Like it was like life was different. Like between grade 10 and 11, a lot of shit happened apparently that I missed out on.
You missed
Those
out
are the
on.
years.
I was gonna be the stage manager of the musical,
Okay.
and then I went from that to not being able to participate in it at all. Then I'm in the musical the next year, and all anyone's talking about is last year's musical, right? So it's like all these stories that I wasn't there for, all these developments and people's like growing up that I wasn't there for. And then suddenly I realized I was like, hey, yeah, you guys want to play Mario Party? Oh, yeah, we don't really play Mario Party anymore.
wow.
I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah,
That
it's
1
good.
year
Yeah.
made a difference.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I definitely felt like an outsider, despite like being tightly knit with my friends before that.
Right.
So, and I don't blame them. It's hard to keep up with somebody for that long. As if you're not seeing them on a daily basis, like I didn't expect them to be able to text me every single day. I did have one friend who did, and I still appreciate that to this day. But it's just too much to ask of somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
How did you, I guess, so you just dealt with it then once you came back in like grade 12?
Yeah, I just started. I was like, okay, I went through like tough time for like 6 months, I think, and then eventually I got over it. Once I think Rowan, especially it was like accumulation of like, okay, feeling like an outsider, and then like survivor's guilt of like everybody was still going through chemo, like all my friends were still going through chemo, like none of them had finished except me. And then when Rowan passed away in my grade 12 year, like then that was just when I hit rock bottom. And weirdly enough, I was at a drama festival and I spoke to a guy who was the adjudicator, which I'm pretty sure helped me win Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor or whatever. But I became close with the adjudicator.
Yeah.
And he told me stories about his friends, he's gay, and his gay friends during the AIDS epidemic. And so like it was like a different scenario, but similar story of like he felt survivor's guilt because everyone around him was passing away, and it hurt a lot. And then there was nobody he could talk to relate to, and that was how I was feeling. It's like you can't talk to people who didn't have cancer and relate to them in the same way about these like issues that you're going through. So I was feeling isolated. I was feeling like angry about my situation. But then I had this conversation with this stranger basically, and I just like broke down and started crying, and I've been better ever since basically.
Yeah.
It was weird. It's just like it was like the right place, right time, right person I needed to talk to. Like my girlfriend was on the trip, but like it didn't help, and my friend whose mom had passed away, like we had a nice conversation, but still like it wasn't until I talked to this random stranger that I changed my perspective.
Changed perspective, and then changed it ever since, even to now.
Yeah, and even the day that she passed away, I spoke to my chem teacher, and she said like, "Were you happy to know her?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was." She's like, "Then it's fine. Like then it's all worthwhile." Like, because I guess to clarify on that point, like when I first got to BC Children's, I wasn't really interacting with anyone. I was afraid of making friends because I realized that my outlook was good and that most people's wouldn't be, right? Come to find out that like childhood cancer survival rates are a lot better than adult rates, so most of them made it. But I was afraid that like I would be good friends with someone and then have to say bye to them at some day, right? And for Rowan, that ended up being true. But so I was telling my prof, I was like, I think this is what I was trying to avoid. I was trying to avoid making friends, so then I wouldn't get close and I wouldn't have to deal with their death. And she's like, "Yeah, but were you happy doing better?" I was like, "That's true.
That's true.
Like I'm better. I'm a better person because she was in my life."
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
Stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's still, the cancer is still affecting me, right? Kathy's mom, my girlfriend's mom, just passed away of lung cancer. That was tough.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna cry. So yeah, it's still around. It's still something I have to deal with, but hopefully what we're doing as part of the UBC Cancer Association, plug.
That's what it is. That's what it is, guys.
Plug
It is.
Is raise money for cancer research, and hopefully it gets better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy though. The fucking medicine and the science that is like going now is fucking insane.
Yeah, immunotherapy or boosting your immune system to fight cancer is the thing.
Yeah.
Targeted chemotherapy is coming down the road. Where
Targeted chemotherapy.
Yeah, because like with me, it's like they're killing every blood cell. That's why I went bald, right? It's like your hair cells, like the cells that produce your hair are dying, right?
Right.
So it's like, that's why you can't have hair. And then my nails would go black. I still have like black streaks, but like my because it's keratin too, right? Same stuff as your hair's made of. It's like pitch black nails, like weird shit.
Oh, it doesn't. So it turns black, but it doesn't. I thought it would like fall out or something.
No, they didn't fall out. They just turned really ugly.
Oh.
And then you'd find like whenever I had breaks in chemo, I could tell. I was like, oh, this was a week I had a break because it turned like
It turns white.
it was a white again, and then
it's
it'd
like
be black again.
it's like a what's that? Ombre? No, it's like black and white. It's like
Yeah,
stripes.
yeah, stripes.
Oh.
Yeah, strange. But yeah, so So my whole body was affected by chemo, but
Yes.
the idea is like you could probably target the administration of it to just the area, and then that would only kill the cells in that area that were reproducing.
So then in your case, it would have been like on
Just
just,
my
on
leg.
the knee,
Yeah.
on your leg.
Yeah, just like in my bone, if that's possible. I'm not sure if it's possible. It's probably better off for like tissue-based cancers, but yeah, same idea. Like,
Right, because it would be in your blood, right? The chemo.
that's how I got it. It got
Okay.
right to my heart, basically.
Right.
They like injected it, and it was in my heart, and then it got distributed.
And then
to
it
my
would just
body.
circulate everywhere, and that's why
Yeah.
it would affect your whole body.
Yeah.
But then you're saying there's also targeted where it would not be in the blood, just be in like.
Probably just like in the region. Yeah,
But then wouldn't that affect? I don't know.
it probably still enter your bloodstream to
yeah,
some degree.
right.
Dude, just hearing this is like, people are always like, oh, we can create medicine for this, medicine for this. Why can't we create a cure for cancer? Cancer sounds really fucking tough.
Yeah, because it's
Oh, yeah.
not really one
Like,
disease. It's like a
yeah.
collection of diseases.
Like
right?
hearing all this and like hearing the advancements from Terry Fox to you, it's like, this is gonna take a long time to fucking have a pill for that. Like, this is fucking insane.
Yeah, cure for cancer. I guess it's a cure for like, because it's so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously not an expert to talk about this, but it's like a lot of different cancers, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
maybe cure for one cancer,
It's like completely different
but then
treatment.
Yeah.
it's like completely different.
Like you would not treat a brain tumor the same way. Like my buddy, I don't think ever. Is that true? They never had chemo. He mostly had radiation anyway. And he went to Seattle and they like pinpointed like exactly. They literally outlined his tumor and they're like, okay, we're gonna just irradiate like the spot of your brain that you have a tumor,
Right.
as opposed to like just like blindly attacking your entire body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
it's totally different depending on your what you have. Even for me, like if I had Ewing's, I'd basically have the same symptoms, different identity of a cancer, different chemos. I'd also have radiation. I think Ewing's sarcoma, you'd have radiation. And so I had a friend who she was like paper mache, man. Like she had Ewing sarcoma in her spine and in her thigh. And one night she turned over in her bed and she broke her back. Like that's different than what I was never.
fucked.
I was afraid like my leg could have broken if I was unsafe with it. I just stopped walking on it. I just went on wheelchair and crutches, or whatever, for 6 months or so. Still never learned to walk properly. That's my own fault. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird losing like your entire muscle, your entire leg atrophies in like a month if you stop walking on it. It's really strange. My leg was linguini. I'd have to like pick it up and move it.
Oh, like you couldn't even.
Yeah, I couldn't consciously move it. Yeah, but yeah, for like if you had Ewing's, oh my god, much worse.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so I got lucky in a lot of ways.
But now, obviously, like, are you like pretty much fine now in terms of like walking and everything?
Yeah, I'm 5 years cancer free. Yeah,
Right.
never learned how to walk it properly, but it's my own fault.
Oh.
My leg comes like out and then back in again.
Like when you walk?
Yeah, and then like because I can't fully extend my knee, I basically kick my leg forward until it locks in place, and then I walk down again. If that makes sense.
And okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then there's no way of it full extending. Is it just because of like
Yeah, the
surgery?
tendons probably slipped or something. My
Right.
surgeon doesn't. He's like, don't worry about it.
right? Oh,
It's like, yeah, something went wrong. Well, we don't know.
what's like? Oh yeah, you still got your leg, right? That's what
Yeah,
you said.
exactly. Yeah,
Right.
that's why he says 90%. He's like, you're good.
Yeah.
90% recovered.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
No, but how? I guess you did say you want to like share, but like, why are you so like open with this? I assume like there are people out there who are like, I guess, not as open about sharing their story and experience with cancer.
Yeah, I think it's like to make more people aware of like what they're going through, because like for me, talking to my friends, like they didn't have any idea, and they're walking on eggshells, right? And like rightfully so, like they're concerned about like offending me or saying the wrong thing, or because you look at like appearance wise, it's scary. Like you look at my old photos, I'm like a terrifying looking appearance, because like that week that I had off, I was bald, right?
Okay.
I was in a wheelchair,
Right.
and like my leg was like not moving, right? So like so I looked like a very different person from the person I knew,
Right.
and so like I could sense like timidness everywhere, and so I constantly was making jokes like about it, and like making sure everyone knew that like it's okay to talk about it. It's more comfortable if you guys aren't treating me like an other person.
Right.
And that's what really I think maybe the main reason why I want is like I don't think that kids with cancer should be treated differently. Like not judge, like, you know what I mean? Like they just like everyone thinks that like that's their identity is like, okay, that's the cancer kid, that's the sick kid, right? Whereas it's all that the sick kid wants is like, I just spent like fucking 6 months in a hospital by myself or just with my parents. Like I just want normal human interaction again, like with my friends, right? So that's the thing I miss the most. And so I think that talking about this kind of stuff makes other people realize like what it's like to go through cancer, especially I can only talk as a pediatric patient. That's what it's like as a pediatric kid at Children's. And so you have some level of understanding when you talk to them. And like if somebody does go through cancer, no matter how like distantly related they are, just reach out to them, right? Just say, hey, listen, like, hey, you want to talk? call, we can do anything together. We can play, now more than ever, you can play video games online with people. You can, watch parties of Netflix movies or whatever. There's tons of stuff you could do with someone, even if they're not in your vicinity.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a huge difference to just let them know that you're thinking about them and that you're actually, and it's not just thoughts and prayers, right?
Right.
Just say like,
right.
just be frank about it. Don't just say,
I hate those.
Yeah. Because cancer is almost like there's like a taboo word almost. People say like C word instead. Like there's like a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
And then I guess, it's not like that. And you're saying sharing those experiences that you have, sort of trying to like dispel that connotation almost, or like that false belief.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot. Yeah, and just to sympathize too. It's like, it's like I was definitely like a nihilist or like a negative thinking person. You're just like, you see like a GoFundMe page for somebody with cancer, and you're like, well, that guy's made of money. Like, why do they need money? It's like, well, okay, well,
like
airfare, like
prior to getting cancer, you were more
prior to getting
nihilistic.
cancer. I think so.
Oh.
Like, it's just a little bit like, okay, well, we don't pay for chemo. Like, why would anyone need money? But it's like, okay, there's actually like a lot to it. It's like you have to pay for like airfare for like family and friends to come there and back. Especially if the parents have to work, then they have to pay back and forth. There's certain organizations like Hope Air that will help you, but for the most part, like you're paying on your own dime.
Yeah.
Groceries, if you all that kind of stuff. Like it's especially if it's a long haul, like those kind of campaigns help. They help a lot for those people. So yeah, I think it's just just raising awareness about what it's like. Well, yeah.
So then obviously, I was gonna say, how has your sort of perception to life changed after cancer? But obviously, it has changed a lot, right?
Yeah, I basically just started living like I was already dead. That's what, like that's what I started talking about. It's like I'm living my bonus years, like because I was like very into like evolution and stuff at that point. I was like learning a lot about biology, and I'm like, okay, so like Darwinianly speaking, like I should have been dead, right? Like nature chose me, my genetics, to get removed from the gene pool, right?
Oh yeah.
Because if I reproduce now, then I'm passing on my cancer genes to other people, right?
Right.
To future generations, which weakens our species as a whole.
Sure.
This is like, if you're looking at it from like a very distant,
evolutionary standpoint.
Yeah, just like with no emotion, right?
No emotion, yeah.
And so I'm just like, man, I can do whatever the fuck I want at this point. Like I got free reign, and my parents and my family basically had the same attitude. So I started like dating. Right, like that's not a thing that was happening in my household. It's like dating is not like, you don't date, and if you're gonna date an Indian chick, right?
Right.
It's like, oh no, it's fine. Vietnamese, who cares? Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
all this kind of stuff. I went out drinking. I started like living life normally, and
Yeah, he went crazy at the pit party.
I went pretty crazy at the pit party. That's just some weird shit to Andrew.
So you're saying now you're sort of just more like, what's the word? Carefree.
Dude, I literally have like, you guys were talking about like manifesting your like, whatever you want in life. I'm the complete opposite of that.
Oh.
When I graduate, all I wanted was to graduate with my friends. Like that was really important to me because I missed a year of school. I was like, I need to graduate with my friends. So I'll take whatever courses and whatever timeline necessary. So I took pre-calc when I was on chemo. As soon as chemo was over, I took accounting, then I took physics. And then when the school year started, I took like a full course load. And including grade 11 courses. So I was like, first semester, I was taking courses with the grade 11s. And then they were all prereqs for the courses in grade 12.
Grade 12, yeah.
So I took like Chem 11, then I took Chem 12. I took, what were the other ones? Bio, like that. All the courses I need to take to minimal graduation. I literally graduated like with the exact number of credits that I needed. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of want to go to university, but like, I don't really care if I don't.
Oh, okay.
Because I could take a gap year. Like, it's been a tough 2 years right, at that point.
Exactly.
And so I was like, I'll apply to UBC. I'll apply nowhere else. And I'll just take the minimum courses for UBC's admission.
Oh.
So not only I had the minimum to graduate, I had the minimum to apply to UBC in terms of like courses.
Right.
And then I got in. I was like, okay. So I didn't. I got into the first cycle. I was like, cool. That's good.
Your grades must have been pretty high then. Because you got your.
Well, it's a small town. Like everyone gets 99, right? So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right, and you major in biology.
Yeah, but you only applied to get to science, right? Like you only applied to faculty and then you major later. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so it was just like I did not care if I got into university that year because I wouldn't mind taking a break. I fucking had 2 hard, busy years, right? So I was like, if I get in, I get in. Let fate decide. And so I got in. And then now like, I'm doing the same thing with med. I'm like, if I get in, I don't really care. I have like 2 plans. I have like the rest of the year planned out. I'm like, okay, if I get into med school, I'll do this. If I don't, I do that. It's not a big deal. Yeah.
That's so interesting. So that's why you said you're the opposite of manifestation. You're sort of just, instead of manifesting and like, oh, we gotta make this happen, you're just like, whatever.
I'm happy to be alive, man. I'll just do anything. I'll be a teacher. I'll be a garbage man. My dad's been kind of talking me to try to be a garbage man because when I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do.
Oh, really?
And he's like, man, med school is like a long time. He's like, if you be a doctor, you get a stressful job. You work weird hours. So just be a garbage man. You work for the city. You get a good pension. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
Would you be one driving or the one?
I'll be the one picking, man.
You'd be one picking up.
I need to develop these muscles.
Oh wow! So now it's just like go with the flow and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to have a fun life, right? So.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just I might as well shoot high and then just work my way down.
Yeah, aim high. So then you don't care if you get into med school.
No.
But then if you do get in, you get in, right?
Yeah.
And then, what kind of, I guess like
Cancer doctor, yeah, oncologist. If I get into med school,
oncologist,
Yeah.
right? Right.
But that's only after Rowan passed away. Before I wanted to be an audiologist, so that's still my plan B is audiologist, like study ears. I have hearing loss, so
Oh, you have hearing loss?
yeah, I have hearing loss. So I think I find that stuff really interesting. Yeah.
What's Prince Rupert like? I've never been up north, so
Up north? Yeah. So Prince Rupert is basically Vancouver if you had like no development whatsoever. So it's like exact same climate, basically exact same climate.
Yeah.
No snow, tons of rain.
yeah.
Actually, Rupert, according to weatherchannel.com anyway, is the rainiest city in Canada.
Okay.
So it was a mess, but it's like beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody can see the water. Most houses, no, that's not true. Most houses, but a lot of houses you can see the water, the Pacific Ocean, and it's really hilly. It's an island, which is really strange. And then most of the problems that come with living with a small town are like getting reduced by the year. It's like no big shopping centers, mostly small businesses. So, but you can just online shop. No big deal. It's harder to get to places. So like if you want to fly, we're on an island and a mountainous island, which means you can't put an airport there. And so the airport's on the island next to us.
Oh.
So like my process of flying out is like you go downtown, bus takes you to the ferry terminal, you get on a ferry takes you to the other island, you then bus to the airport terminal, then you check in, and then you fly out. And so it's like a whole process. And then the only place you can fly to is Vancouver with one airline, Air Canada. So it's
Right.
it's the small town issues that you still face up north.
The tickets to fly there are so expensive. Well,
yeah,
like,
did you saw it?
Yeah.
Was Alicia telling you about
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
$300 to $400. Yeah.
oh, we want to fly out and like visit him maybe in the future. But then it's like okay, it's expensive comparable relative to like the time you spend flying. It's only like an hour or something.
It's
flight,
an hour,
right?
hour and 50-minute flight
Right.
usually.
And it's like $400 something dollars.
Yeah, 400, yeah.
And that's like more expensive than like your flight to like Toronto or something.
Yeah.
But is it because there's like just not that many flights going there?
It's that it's like the additional expenses because they have to pay for everybody to come like across and everything too. Like it's just complicated.
Right.
The logistics of having employees work on an island that have to arrive before the passengers is difficult because then you have to have a ferry to take the employees to the airport so then they can get ready. Then the ferry has to go back. Then the ferry has to take the passengers over to the island. So it just creates all these problems where like nobody wants to work at that job because it's fucking awful, right? Like it's like a really uncomfortable, like inconvenient place to work, especially since you don't clock in until you reach the airport. So like you have to find employees constantly because everyone hates their job.
Yeah.
And so there's like all these logistical problems with the airport too.
Right.
So yeah, it's just, but it adds to the problem. We fly points, and luckily before air miles sucks now, but air miles used to be proportional to like distance as opposed to cost of flight. So because we were just flying BC to BC, like air miles used to be really cheap.
Oh.
Aeroplan and now air miles as well is like proportional to the cost of the flight.
Yeah.
So we kind of got fucked over before, but we used to travel a lot, and it basically you could go all over Canada for like really, really cheap if you use points. A little bit more difficult now.
I saw a thing on like a different podcast where this like girl was like an air stewardess, and she said not air stewardess, but the person on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
She said that until the doors close, they don't get paid.
That's so stupid.
That's fucked.
Wait, what?
Like the people that greet you on the plane, right, when you get on,
Yeah. Flight attendants,
they don't get flight
stewardess,
attendants.
whatever you want to call them.
They don't get paid until the door closes. That's why they're trying to rush you in because they don't get paid till the door closes.
Oh, wow. So then the ones that are like happy and smiling.
They're probably crying inside.
Or I was gonna say they actually enjoy their job.
Oh, maybe that too. But
Oh my god.
probably just smiling because like, okay, you're walking pretty fast. Come on, let's keep going.
Yeah. Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, Nivan, should we end it?
I don't. This was
We
the
can
most
keep going.
serious episode, but also
No,
like,
no.
like I've learned so much. This is crazy.
Like we
It'll be
didn't.
fun. No, I'd like to come back. We can come back if I'm still in town because I want to talk about Make a Wish. I think
We can keep going. We can
Yeah,
keep
we can keep
going.
going.
You sure?
We can keep going. Yeah.
Okay, we'll tell you the Cliff Notes story of it then. Okay, I'll tell it real quick.
No,
it's
I
sorry.
only said 120. I didn't mean it like it was too long. I just meant like the.
We've gone like an hour 40 before.
Okay. Okay.
This,
I can tell
Nivan,
it.
you're special. You deserve
Yeah.
you deserve like 3 hours here.
Oh, thanks.
You know, you really. I think
We didn't even talk about how we met, but that's
we can talk about how you met. Sure, we can talk about that. How did I meet this wonderful person? The club. What he's wearing right now.
Yes, UBC Cancer Association. It's a club at UBC, raise money for cancer research.
Yes.
Andrew and I were part of the videography team last year.
That's
the first time we met.
Last year. Yes.
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 And yeah, so he did all the work, and then I took credit.
But yeah, the videography, I was the main, you already know, I make videos. And then it's like, oh, I have an editor. And I remember I looked at him, I'm like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, I don't want an editor. I don't want to work with someone. But then it's been amazing. He's been an amazing friend. And
Yeah,
like,
we're
we're very
a team.
lucky to meet him. I think he really changed, I guess, my, attitude or perception towards cancer, I guess. Because I think I didn't really know much about it. Obviously, I knew it was like, oh, cancer's bad. But I think I also had that sort of like connotation of like, oh, it's bad. You know, like the taboo word almost.
Yeah.
But I guess.
You think that everyone's going to die if they have it too? Like, I kind of thought that before.
Yeah, it's like cancer, and then you relate that to like death sentence. Where in reality, it's like you said earlier, it's not true because the survival rate is pretty high, especially depending
For
on
children, yeah.
For children, right? And depending on the cancer you get, and it's like, what was it? The stats like the most common cancer for men was like what, prostate,
Prostate, yeah, testate.
but then
yeah,
the survivability is pretty high,
yeah,
right?
So,
Something.
I think so.
But I think just seeing you like being so like open and sharing your story about it, and still like very like joking about it,
Right.
and like optimistic, I was like, wow, like damn, like I don't know, I was like, wow, what an amazing person,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
I think,
I think it's just cancer shouldn't define anybody. I think that's the idea.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then this year he was not on my team, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, you're
I was
not.
very sad. He was on a different team, but he was only an editor because like there was no other spots.
I was basically just did, I think subtitles for a lot of near the end, I was doing like a lot of subtitles,
No,
which
you
is
made
like
the graph-
really mundane.
You made the graphics.
And I made graphics, that's right.
I really like the
yeah.
graphics for me, which I can't do.
Yeah. And then I basically just entertained people on set. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, no, we need that because I'm pretty bad at that sometimes. When people feel awkward.
When did you start growing facial hair?
Grade 4.
Grade 4?
Yeah,
wow.
grade 4. Yeah, I had the fucking peach fuzz, but it wasn't peach. It's not peach fuzz because it's black, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it was like little baby facial hair. And my dad's like, don't shave until you're in middle school. So I didn't shave till I was grade 6. So I got in grade 4, I got to shave in grade 6. No, sorry, grade 7. Yeah.
Don't
my
shave
birthday.
because they'll grow out rougher
grow
or
faster.
something.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, that's why like it went from being like peach fuzz to like the hard facial hair it is now, right?
really?
Yeah. But whereas my cheeks, like I used to wax my cheeks like pretty regularly, and they came in like really thin, and like you basically couldn't see them when they grew in. Now I just pluck them because it's faster and it's easier, whatever.
To all of our audio listeners, Nivan has an amazing beard. I ain't gonna lie, I've been blown away by the beard the whole time. Like this guy has a full, like no patch, no nothing,
Not
just
even his-
pure beard.
Not even by a story, just by his beard.
It's
Just-
a pure. No, the story was amazing too. But when he first walked in, I was like, "That's a whole ass beard. That is insane."
yeah.
It's tricky. Like the beard is saves me so much time because I don't have to shave, right? Like I can go like weeks on end without shaving or trimming my
I mean,
beard.
me too.
It's nice. But the problem is like I have to maintain my cheeks because
Yeah.
if I didn't stop it would grow to my eyes.
Yeah.
Like it's
Oh.
and then it just it grows all on my neck, like almost to the back where my hair is. Like that's how
Jeez.
wide it grows. So I used to wax the sides to make sure that they didn't grow in fast. Now I just don't give a shit. It's like, okay, I'll just shave everything. But it's like every day or 2 days I have to shave my neck
Yeah.
because it's just coming in so thick and so visible.
Right.
Do you do Movember?
I did, yeah. I
How?
grew a mustache, yeah.
Did you become like Santa Claus or like how did you?
Oh no, I didn't. I usually do no shave November, but then I just look homeless. So I did Movember this time, which was basically like, I think I started a little bit before November, but I just grew a mustache, and I looked like, I don't know, what would you say I look like? I was gonna say like 70s cop,
No,
from an action movie.
no, it's badass.
Yeah.
If you look at the video of the pit night, I think you'll see his mustache.
Yeah.
Holy
It's
shit.
like
It was a little like bad boy.
Yeah.
But I think next time I'm gonna go a little fancier. Like I'm gonna go with like the
Little twisties.
no.
I thought that too. I was like,
no. It started to grow that way a couple times
Yeah.
when I like really don't take care of my beard. But like I really liked. Have you guys ever? I know you don't watch movies, but Paul Newman. Do you guys aware of like who Paul Newman is?
I heard
He has
of him.
Newman-owned pasta sauce or salsa.
I heard of his Daytona watch.
Okay, yeah, he's huge into racing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he has this amazing mustache in a movie called The Sting, and it like splits down the middle, and it like is super clean right here, and like finishes right at the top of the lip. Oh my god!
I think I've seen that.
I'm like I'm straight, but I'm like look at that mustache.
They're questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Can you do
Now
that?
I'm curious.
Are you able to do that?
Do like the twirl, or are you just saying like
Or like, yeah, that what you just said.
The Newman stash? Like
Yeah.
the Newman? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just about cleaning, like keeping it clean and getting like a barber to do it. I'm not gonna do it myself.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but if you just show a picture to a barber, he'll do
He'll do
anything
that.
for you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You said make a wish.
Okay, Make a Wish. Cliff Notes Make a
We
Wish.
can talk about
so,
that.
So like
Yeah.
I always thought that Make a Wish was for dying children, right? But it's not. It's for any child who has a life-threatening illness.
Oh.
And I think that's probably a newer thing. Like they have enough funding that they can like expand who gets Make a Wishes. And so they give you they ask you to three things. They're like, make your list of three things. And I thought of like one. I was like, number one, I was huge into Uncharted at the time, which is a video game.
Yep.
So I was like, I want to be in an Uncharted game. Like that's what I want to do. I want to go to like Santa Monica and I want to like visit Naughty Dog Studios and I want to like do that. And they're like, okay, you can't be in the game, but they'll give you a tour. And then I found a tour on YouTube. I'm like, okay, never mind. I don't need a tour. It's on YouTube, right? So then they're like, okay, so what was your number two? And my number two was to be in a Pixar movie or maybe visit Pixar. But then I saw another video of Pixar as well. And then my number three, I couldn't think of a third. I wanted like a PlayStation VR headset. Thank God that wasn't my Make-A-Wish. Because my whole thought was like, okay, if you're going to have a Make-A-Wish, do something you couldn't do otherwise. Some people asked for the Make-A-Wish, like somebody who I was bugged at the Ronald McDonald house. When she had her Make-A-Wish, it was the Jonas Brothers. She went to a Jonas Brothers concert. You could buy tickets to a Jonas Brothers concert. Like that's not what I want my Make-A-Wish to be. I don't want to go to Disneyland. You could just buy tickets.
Exactly.
To that, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're in like dire straits financially, like still try to go to like something that's extravagant that you could never in your lifetime do. So then I thought of it, like I went back to the drawing board and created a new list, which ended up only being one thing. And I was like, you know what? I really want to visit the set of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, because I grew up a huge Harry Potter fan and they were shooting in London. So it's like a double knockout. You get to visit a foreign country and you get to do something that you couldn't otherwise do, which is visit a movie set, unless you broke in. And that's a whole other problem.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll do that. And they said, okay, we'll work on it. I get a call. They're like, hey, can you be on set in 2 days?
Oh.
And I'm like, I live in Canada. I do not live in London. And they didn't realize because they were the UK Make-A-Wish was calling me.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, let's figure it out. But like, try to get, like, we're filming now. Can you be here like within the next week or so? I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out. So last minute, they figured out, they paid for the flights.
Yep.
It's all WestJet. So drove
Nice.
to the terrace, drove to the city that has a WestJet. We flew all the way to London, like Vancouver to London. We had 3 days. Make-A-Wish has like very strict rules. Your trip has to end within like I think it's a 7-day span or something like that. And you can only take 2 other people with you. So it was me, my dad, my sister. We left. It was like a day travel, then 3 days in London, I think. Maybe three or 2 days in London. And then travel again.
Right.
Back to Vancouver.
Okay.
And then back to Rupert. Well, back to Teresa and then drive to Rupert. It's hard to get to my town.
Yeah.
And so it's so yeah, we did the trip. First day was like all Make-A-Wish, and then the rest was like they let us do whatever we wanted. So they took us to a hotel like from the airport. It was like a really nice hotel, like right by the London Eye and like Tower of London. Everything was there. They picked us up in a Hummer limo.
Whoa.
It was me and one other family. This is a family from Boston.
Okay.
She had like a skin disease, I think, for like 10 years. So she was like waiting for a Make-A-Wish too. So she deserved it probably more than I did. They get in the Hummer limo. They take us to Warner Brothers Studios in London. And this is like where they film movies.
Yeah.
And they took us to the sets, and it was unbelievable. Like the detail in these sets. It was the same set from the first Fantastic Beasts. They redecorated. So it used to be New York. They redecorated. It was France. And so we were just walking like the streets of Paris, and like all the little detail in the signage and in the shops, like shops they were never going to film in. but they go in and it's like a patisserie, it's like a bakery, and they have all these pastries in the window, and you can like pick them up and eat them if you wanted to. They're like real baked pastries because they said it was cheaper to bake the things than actually make them in plastic.
Wow.
So all this detail, amazing set. You watch the movie, it's in there for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like you do not realize like how much work actually went into the production of this whole area, like set design.
Right.
There was like a pub and you could like pull on the beer taps.
Yeah.
But that location is not in the movie.
It wasn't even used.
Yeah. It was, so we took all these amazing photos and all these crazy things. I'm going to be very careful because I'm not sure what I'm allowed to talk about. But like,
okay.
They showed us a lot of great things. I was able to meet Eddie Redmayne on set at what ended up being the French Ministry of Magic. And so he was like just fresh off a best actor Oscar as well. So it was like really exciting for me. Like as a theater kid, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then we met the other co-actress as well. David Yates was there, the director. And we also got to like sit on set while they were filming a scene. So it was just like, okay, reset, lights, action. And then like you see the camera dollying, you see the actors, they say their lines, and then they reset, and then they do it again, and they do it again. You see like 2 or 3 takes of it. We visited the props department. I got to hold like a bunch of props that were in the movie, but also in the original Harry Potter movies. Visited like costume department. I visited like pre-conceptual department. So they create like models of all the sets before they actually design the sets or did the CG for the sets. Yeah. Met all the people. They answered all our questions. We got to see like how a lot of the tricks were done. Like, okay, in the movies, like he walks like into a briefcase. And so it's just literally like a briefcase with the bottom cut out. They cut a hole in the floor. They put the briefcase over top of the hole, and he walks through the briefcase. Right, like simple like tricks, movie tricks. Learned all that. As soon as that was over, right next to that studio was a museum, a Harry Potter museum, where it used to be a studio that they filmed the movies in. But rather than like taking it all out and filming new movies, they're like, okay, we'll just keep all the props and costumes here, design a museum, and then so we got like free entry to that museum. Got to spend like a couple hours seeing all the stuff from the original Harry Potter movies, which was super exciting for us because we're huge Harry Potter fans. And then they were like, because we were special guests, they pulled out a prop, and it was I don't know how familiar you are with Harry Potter, but like there's a diary, and it gets stabbed with a tooth, and it spills blood, or it spills ink, essentially, in the movie. And they had one of the ones that was used on set that day. And so they showed how the ink was fed through a tube, and so like he would hit it, the ink would spray out of the paper, and like so you could flip through this book. Like we weren't allowed to touch it, but she was flipping through it in front of us, and you could see like how it was stained. You could see where Daniel Radcliffe, the actor, had stabbed it, and like and they're like, we found this in a dumpster. Apparently somebody had thrown it out, and they were like, oh my god, we need this for the museum, and so they recovered it, and that's the only one they recovered. All the other ones ended up getting lost to time or whatever. But yeah, it was like a once in a lifetime trip. So all that was thanks to Make-A-Wish. We also saw a couple plays because again, I'm a theater kid, so I saw Book of Mormon, I saw Wicked on our own dime, but in our own time.
Right.
And did all of like the regular touristy London stuff, and yeah, it was a crazy trip, really fun.
How does Make-A-Wish work? Do you only get like one sort of trip?
Yeah.
In your lifetime?
In your lifetime, yeah. So if you relapse, you can get a second one.
It doesn't work like that.
So once per person per lifetime if you have a life-threatening illness, and if you're under 18, I think.
Under 18?
I think so. I think that's the cutoff. So I was actually dangerously close to like aging out. So I'm like, okay, let's get this trip done now.
Going. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, but okay. So then like the duration, you said 7 days.
Yeah, I think it's like it has to start and end in 7 days, something like that.
And so, what are like the off limits? I'm sure there are, right? Or is it?
Sure, it's like I don't know. I'm sure they'd probably just like politely decline if it was anything like too bad.
Yeah.
But that's what makes overseas trips difficult. So you lose travel time. Like the travel day counts towards your total days, right? We wanted to go to Japan originally, but it's just too tough.
Right.
Yeah, you can't do enough in 3 days. Whereas London's kind of more manageable.
Yeah. Japan. What would you have done in Japan?
Disneyland, probably. I would love Disneyland, but yeah.
But wouldn't, like you said, that be something that you could have done, or no?
Yeah. I don't know what would be unique to Japan. I don't know. Trying to remember. Oh, maybe it was like a Studio Ghibli thing because my sister was huge into Studio Ghibli. Maybe we were planning on like visiting them or something. I'm trying to remember now. I don't remember.
Joe Hisashi.
I don't know who that is. Is that the music guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy who makes all the music.
Yeah. My sister talks about him. I was like, why do I know that name?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good music.
It's very good music. He has he's touring and he has his last like concert here in Vancouver. And check the tickets. The resale is like $8,000.
Oh, jeez.
I saw it. I was scrolling. Oh my god, he's coming! And then it's like, nope, it's all sold out. Resell 8K. Like, is it stop recording?
Maybe zoom in a little bit.
Oh, you probably zoomed in a little. That's fine.
No, I zoomed out. I think it might be in wide angle.
That's fine. Whatever.
At least we're in frame. That's fine.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's a delightful chat.
Thank you, Nivan, for coming on. That was a very.
This was very. I learned a lot. That was crazy.
That was.
So I guess those are my plugs: is donate to BC Children's, Ronald McDonald House, Make a Wish, and just Canadian Cancer Society, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll link that in the show notes and the description. You know what to do.
He always says that. Like,
You should know what to do already.
That was my
like,
answering machine one time. Like rather than telling like, oh, leave a message after the beep, it's like, you know what to do.
You know what to do.
just leave a message. Sorry.
Leave a message.
Just do it.
Come on, just hit that like button.
You know why you're here.
Drop a comment. Hit a subscribe button. If you're on YouTube.
Turn on notifications.
Turn on notifications. Hit the
Google
bell.
Forms.
Yeah, submit our stuff. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your podcast. And am I missing anything else?
TikToks.
Ask questions.
Instagram.
Ask questions.
Google Form. Ask us some questions. I'm zooming in on Andrew right now.
Too close.
Too close for comfort.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Nivan, again. This was very, very insightful episode. This is the least we ever talked on an episode. That's a good thing. No, that's
I
a
told
good.
you.
That's a good thing because I just wanted to just listen. I could listen to you talk
Yeah, I was
forever.
just listening the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
You should have your own
This
pod.
is 99% of Andrew and I meetings last year. We need to talk about something for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It turned into an hour-long lecture.
And I
Where I
would-
just talk about my life to Andrew. He's like, "Can I go home now?" Yeah.
You do
No.
sound like a motivational speaker. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You do sound like a motivational speaker.
Yeah, I feel like you could be on stage
TED
one day
Talks.
and just give TED Talks
Yeah.
like about like groundbreaking research that you made or something, or whatever you're doing.
That somebody else did. That I'll take credit for.
Yeah, of
As per
course.
usual.
Just take care. Just take credit for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for listening. This is Nivan, and see you guys next
Cool.
week.
That's a wide angle. Yeah.
Peace out. Oh, yep. Nice.
Hopefully that turned out okay.
No, that was amazing. That was amazing. An hour 40. That was great. Stop.
Yeah.